Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for being here today. I know it's afternoon. It's a real commitment on a Thursday. Thank you so much for making the time. Um, I see some known faces here. For those who haven't met me yet, I'm Varsha Tiwari. I lead the Salesforce Architect Community Group here in Montreal. My specialization is in solution architecture and field service and complex enterprise implementations. Uh, this group here is to bring practitioners together around problems that we actually face on the ground, and then we discuss about how we are tackling them across organizations. And today is a very good example of that. Today we are tackling something most of us deal with on every engagement, and we will talk about how organizations are rethinking Salesforce delivery, especially with AI and with the ongoing metadata complexity, which keeps raising the bar for us. So, our guest today is Uri Pinto. Uri has spent a considerable amount of time as the VP of product inside Salesforce. So, when he talks about delivery complexity, he has really seen it from both sides. He is now the chief product officer at Tribal, and that's actually where we'll start. We'll take a look at what Tribal is building. We'll get into a real customer story, followed by a live demonstration, and then we will close with question and answers. Please hold on to your questions. I'll be moderating the questions in a separate chat, and asking them when it's appropriate. But know that we also have a dedicated time to go through the questions and answers. So with that, Uri, I'll hand it over to you. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Varsha, and thank you for inviting me. Hi, everyone. My name is Uri. I lead the product at Tribal. Tribal is a new Salesforce partner that's really revolutionizing the way teams deliver on Salesforce. Before that, as Varsha mentioned, spent over 7 years at Service Cloud as leading the field service product and other products in Service Cloud. And today, I'm really excited to share with you the Tribal platform. And Tribal is all about it's comes from the word a new digital tribe, and the idea is that we all, as a team, use AI to deliver accurately to production. And so it's not AI replacing the admin, the architect, the developer, the analyst. It's AI really helping all of these roles that you know as part of your Salesforce team. Um, when we started Tribal, it was a lot like vibe coding platforms. You would interact with it with natural language, and it would create things inside Salesforce. It would create Apex, it would create flows, it would create objects. But when we surveyed customers, we found out that the real need is much bigger. And today, what the Tribal platform is all about is really analyzing and remediating tech debt. So we'll see some examples of understanding how it works today and what is the impact of making a change and how you can reduce the tech debt that exists in your org for many years without being a developer. Um, then accelerating migrations. So many customers that we see is all about migration projects, whether they are migrating something that's end of life in Salesforce, like live chat or old process builders, workflow rules, all the way to really performing very complex migrations from like old CPQ to the new Revenue Cloud. It's typically a very complex project to do. And so Tribal is a platform that allows internal teams, admins, analysts, developers to work together, as well as solution integrators, SIs, really leverage the platform to allow to see these kinds of migrations be done much more accurately and faster, and really get to sandbox and testing much faster than typically we are used to. And I think for me, one of the most exciting things to also see is that customers are using Tribal for innovation and innovating amazing things. Some of them are simple applications, creating a new dashboard for sales. Some of them are super complex commission calculators and even agent force agents. We just came back from TDX. It was all about headless and agents. And Tribal can understand your existing metadata, including existing agents, and can improve them, can fix flows. It can read Apex and with natural language help you evolve and migrate. And we'll see some examples today. Um, a little bit behind the scenes, how this works. You can connect one or more orgs to your Tribal tenant. And Tribal is a platform where the first thing it does is it maps all the metadata in your org. So it doesn't take any data or metadata out. It basically creates a mapping of all the metadata artifacts and the relationships between them. And that's really the hard part, to understand how the metadata elements affect each other. Then Tribal uses a group of agents, a tribe of agents that are really specifically trained and skilled for the different roles that we have in the Salesforce team. And so the admin will use the admin skill and agent, the analyst, the business analyst. For me, one of the most amazing things to see with business analysts is that the connection between what the business needs to technically what can be done on Salesforce is really, really aligned when the analyst skill is being used, because you don't just get the exact business need, you also get the technical understanding of what exists in your org. A builder skill, a security skill, trust, everything is analyzed, security and user testing and triaging. We see customers connecting Jira tickets and assigning Tribal, and Tribal identifying the root cause and suggesting solutions, and can suggest a simple how to do solution. So the admin can go and do it by themselves in Salesforce, or it can fix the flow for you and deploy it to Sandbox, run testing, and then you promote to production. On top of that, there's the platform UX, which I'm happy to present to you today. Maybe an anecdote about Agentforce. I think for over a year now, I see many customers really trying to go live with the agents on Agentforce. Some more successful, some less. I think now with Agent Script and the evolution, we're going to see agents that are working much, much better. One of the reasons is when you build an agent, it's not just about topics and actions, it's about the context surrounding the agent. So data, of course, is super important, but also metadata. And if you have something, a platform like Tribal that understands not only what the agent does, but also the invocable apex and flows and objects, it's like one picture, then your chances of deploying an agent that really, really works are the accuracy is far better. And then what's amazing about Tribal is that when you test the agent, you can just give examples of where it's not performing to Tribal, and Tribal will automatically improve it. So that's quite a few demos that we showcased a couple of weeks ago at Salesforce TDX. Before we dive into a demo, I'd love to share a customer success story. We've been hard at work with many customers. I would say most of our customers have had one or more Salesforce orgs for many years. And so they're teams that are knowledgeable about Salesforce. Some of them have a strong internal Salesforce team. Some of them work very well with the SI community, even PDOs. But I think with all of them, we see that the old way of working, where you kind of have on one side a really long list of backlog items that you need to do. So someone from the business needs another report, and there's a flow that's not working, and a user is doing offboarding, and the integration user stopped working. Especially in these orgs where have a lot of integrations, Salesforce is integrated into ERPs and HR systems and finance. We really see those backlogs getting larger. At the same time, these companies are super innovative and pushing the AI frontier and trying to run innovative projects. And doing both of those things together at the same time is very difficult. Um, so Protiven is one of our first customers in the manufacturing space. You may know them from the United States. They are basically, I think, 70 or 80% of the ladders that you see or buy at places like Home Depot are manufactured by Protiven, and that's just one example of one of their products. So it's a really large organization using multiple Salesforce products with Data Cloud, with ERP integrations, with the MuleSoft. Um, and they had a 9-month backlog that includes some routine daily stuff, as well as some very innovative projects. And with the Tribal platform, they were able to achieve this much faster. So there's a quote here from David Kessenberg. He's the director of IT. 5x speed boost to finally show the business we're listening. And I think one of the things Tribal does to teams is really show the business that you're listening to them and iterating super fast to really show a significant improvement. So you can see 8 weeks worth of dev done in less than 2 weeks. And in 1 quarter, you go from discovery all the way to production. In this case, we started with a few applications, I would say in the sales world of opportunity health, thermostats and pipeline and score opportunity scores, churn risks, as well as lead scoring. So after field events, qualifying leads based on complex questionnaires, but with policy, with rules and policy was set by the sales leader. We may have David on the call. So David, if you're on the call, would love to hear a few words from you, and then we can continue. Parsha, do we have David on the call?
Not yet.
Oh, he did not connect it. Okay, so we
Not
can
yet.
try. We can try
Yeah.
later.
Maybe towards the end we can
Okay,
once he joins. Yeah.
amazing. So we will do that. And now let's go into a demonstration. I will demo 3 use cases. The first is how you speak with Tribal and ask questions. The second one is how to fix existing tech debt. Yeah, David says he's connected, but he can't hear the voice. So
Ah,
if he
okay.
if he's able to do it, feel free to bring him on the call whenever you need to. I will start the demo. So the first use case we see is how to talk with Tribal and ask questions after your org has been connected, and do things like impact analysis, for example. The second will be how to take a flow, triage, and enhance an existing flow. And the third, we will look at end-to-end application and how Tribal helps you build something new on top of existing objects or new objects. Feel free to write your questions in the chat, and Varsha will ask during the demo. And of course, we will have a dedicated QA session after the demo as well. Okay,
So, Uri,
yeah,
we have a question from Suman
please.
Malik. He's asking, I think MuleSoft also does same as Tribal. If yes, then how Tribal is better than MuleSoft?
I think MuleSoft started out as a kind of an integration platform that really streamlines data, how data is synchronized between systems. Tribal is very different in the sense that it's not really moving data between integrations. It's looking at metadata. And so when you connect a Salesforce org to Tribal, what's being mapped is all the metadata. So it's very different than in integration capabilities. You're right that MuleSoft has some AI capabilities to help you kind of match fields, but this is something completely different. Let me maybe demonstrate with an example. So this is the Tribal interface, and you're here with your team. So this is a Tribal tenant where you work together with your team. You can see your team's recent projects, what they're working on, recent activity, who deployed, the synchronization of the orgs. So it's really a live platform that's all the time connected to Salesforce. It's not just like a one-time scan or sync. It's fully connected to Salesforce. Even if you make a manual change in Salesforce, Tribal reads that and understands that. So to answer your question, maybe the simplest way is I can select a Salesforce org. In this case, I will select my SDO. Tribal is suggesting things for me to ask, explore, and suggest ideas for Agentforce implementations. It's very easy for Tribal to look at what you have, all the apps, and the data, and suggest, okay, let's build an agent that is a prospecting agent, for example, including using existing Salesforce out-of-the-box agents. Um, Refactor. So Tribal sees you have post-install scripts and maybe you want to improve performance. Tribal sees that you have complex logic in specific elements and you can improve that with Tribal as well. Just going to ask a very simple question. Tribal supports ask and act mode. Ask to start talking about something, exploring, discovery, really. Act is when you want to start building a project and you can attach files and you can attach, all the way from a full PRD to images and screens. I'm just going to ask a very simple question. Which automations run on case object? And we see users interacting with Tribal. Primarily, it's either um, business folks who really understand what they're trying to achieve in terms of the business, but also many times we see more technical folks interacting with Tribal, where you wouldn't write something like on the case object. You would be very, very specific. A specific integration user, what does it have access to? So what's happening now in the background is Tribal is going through all the metadata elements. So it's looking at case flows, workflow rules, Apex triggers, approval processes, all the automations that exist on case, looking for process builders, getting dependencies to understand the relationship, and kind of drawing a map here on the right side of all the triggers and anything that you have, all the flows, anything that you have in your org that is related to an automation. And really, what's amazing about this is that it kind of really super fast summarizes what's going on. So it gives you kind of an answer, and you can copy this and make it into a document. In terms of impact, we see many customers kind of generating impact analysis way before they start any project. They're just trying to do discovery. So here it found several automations, 4 Apex triggers. This is my SDO org, so there's quite a lot. There is
And
a yeah. Is there a question, Varshan?
No question. There's just something that I wanted to highlight that
Please.
personally for me, what I really loved was for me to be able to just add mention an object and it gets the context of the entire object. It's like you are grounding the prompt at the same time. So that was amazing.
100%, and super important, especially if you're technical and looking for something specific. So as Varsha mentioned, you can at mention and really use Tribal to ask anything that has to do with the metadata. But even if you don't remember exactly the name, Tribal allows you to search. So you can see that I'm now connected to the SDO, and I see all the standard custom object, custom settings, metadata types, flows, Apex. Salesforce over the years have delivered so many metadata types. Tribal can read most of them, and as you know, as we grow, we keep on adding support for more. But it doesn't mean we always want to let the user create. Some of them are end of life. So Tribal is very, very well trained at explaining to you what exists. But if you're going to try to create a process builder, for example, Tribal will tell you this is end of life. Let's instead build a flow or Apex or a trigger. So it's always pushing the user to use the latest and greatest from Salesforce. It also understands things like remote site settings, so integrations that you're connected to with named credentials. So it really understands how Salesforce is pushing data out, including emails, including dashboards. Here you can see topics and actions of Agentforce that exist in my org. We have a lot of use of customers using Tribal to fix approval processes, and some of them are super complex, and some of them get broken when people leave. Integration user is a huge headache for many of our customers, where you're trying to understand why this integration user is failing and what permissions. So many of the questions we see is a comparison of permission sets that are available for specific users, and you kind of have the ability to compare. Anything that is answered by Tribal is really a metadata element. And the most amazing thing for us is when you look at something like a trigger, it's not documented anywhere. We see orgs that, there's a system description inside Salesforce, which almost always is empty. Tribal, when it creates artifacts and when it fixes or augments existing triggers or flows, it will always give a description. So the next time somebody works with this, they will know what it's doing. It reads the code inside, so it knows exactly what's happening in this trigger. And in this case, you can add your own documentation as well. Um, Tribal is really, really good at mapping the relationship. So any trigger that I see, I can click on it and see that this trigger is connected to the case object, the contact object, the chat transcript, and the user. And if I'm super interested in this trigger, there's two main things I can do. One is I can explore in the chat. And even if I'm not a developer, what's amazing about Tribal is I don't have to wait for a developer to help me here. I can just ask Tribal to tell me, hey, what is this Apex trigger doing? I can document it. I can augment it. And I think the last example I wanted to give is run impact analysis. So after it answers what it's doing now is it's reading the SDO service and just explaining. So this trigger links chat to contact an account. It auto creates a case. Why it's a trigger, not a flow. Um, it explains that intentionally an Apex trigger rather than a record trigger flow because okay, somebody really invested good writing skills in this trigger, and it has error handling. Um, one of the, I think, best things to get started with using Travel is to say, okay, assess the impact of adding another trigger on the case object um, for specific case record types. So one thing that we know in Salesforce is that record types are gives a lot of flexibility, uh, but they also need to be taken into consideration when you add the automations. Travel is really, really good at kind of building your full impact analysis of, okay, so if you basically it's looking at all the record triggered flows and learning the record types that exists for the case in this org. And it's kind of going to send us a summary. You can take the summary and share it with your team and send it. But I think this kind of summarizes the first use case of talking with your org to learn how things currently the things work, but also running impact analysis and really to understand, okay, if I make a change, what am I impacting and what should I be aware of? Um, wonderful.
So, Uri, we have David now. I see him in
Ah,
the as a
amazing.
participant. I don't know, David, if you can. Oh, I saw that you can get off mute. Hey, David, and we have some questions too.
No worries, David. Thank you so much for joining. Would love to hear a couple of sentences from you about your journey with the team. How do you feel it? The journey with Tribal, but also for your team.
So, Uri, we have. Go ahead, David. Sorry. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, go ahead.
represents a lead journey, opportunity, health score, critical core business elements. Um, if you look at that from like numbers perspective, 18,000 hours of work represent 9 people for a year or 18 people for 6 months, and equal to around $2 million overall in an investment that needs to happen around that situation. Uh, went to the business and they obviously said no, this is not gonna work. Uh, at that point of time, I want to say last October, I stumbled on Tribal, and they came with this amazing value proposition. We can do it in 10% of the cost, 10% of the time, and I'm like, no way. And they're like, okay, let's take a piece and do everything. No problem. Let's jump. So they different functionalities within the core functionality that I wish to recommend to everybody is to have an FDE. Personally, for me, we got UC. We obviously had a massive support for everybody else on the team, but the specific role that was highly critical for me because I didn't have an architect, I didn't have a lot of the in-house capabilities to run fast on that scope. So we got UC, started to do solutioning, started to do architects. We looped in a couple other people from the company to assess that, and then we kind of jumped into our proof of concept or whatever, some POC. Uh, it ran really fast. It ran really smooth. The end game of all of that was that the 18,000 hours of work were done in 11 days. That was mind blowing from our organization to be able to deliver things within Q4 in a critical year for us and not drag it over 6, 9, 12 months. The process was understand uh, in most crazy way. There was no loops after. There was no like, there's a bug, let's fix it. There's another bug, let's fix it. There was nothing. There was like 11 days, ready to push to prod. And now my challenge is, can I train my salespeople, my marketing people, my ops people, my supply chain people to be able to work at the speed that Tribal can deliver quality work? So I am still 4 months after that deployment, still doing training on pieces for other different pieces of the company. Now that's amazing, but let's talk for a second, and then I'll stop talking. Like, and I appreciate the stage. Let's talk about a few key visibility and decision making. Tribal was able to put, and I'm sorry I can't see the screen, but if you're building me up, it's great. uh, and one of the key pieces that we had is problem with transparency because our lead journey process was broken, and because our conversion between MQL to SQL was very challenging. We had a lot of problems. So when we worked with Tribal on solutioning that situation and creating opportunity health and creating this baseball cards or visual aids, when you have this boring page that looks like a spreadsheet and all of a sudden you have a dashboard on top of that page with showing you each opportunity with a scorecard and then overall, and then like there was so, it was so beautiful. It's like the best version of Salesforce that I've seen, that pass the knowledge of that massive databases into action items. And my sales team is flying now. They love it, and I'm going to double down on this relationship. And they're already doing work in England and France and Australia. And I think the next big thing that I'm going to do with Tribal, I'm going to do a net new implementation of a CRM in our Germany company in Zargis. And this is, I'm talking from a client perspective. This is a very unique opportunity to think outside of the box, to restructure your workforce into product owners and architects and not dev, to be able to have a hero story of how your organization is leveraging AI. It's just good all around, and It's not just the what they do; it's also the how they do it. The level of care that my people got from the tribal folks is beautiful. Some of them were terrified with like, am I going to lose my job, or am I? What's that? They were hugging everybody in such a smart way of enhancing their skill sets. So now I'm like more hungry. I want to do
That's
more. I wanted to give them more, and I need to figure out how to do the training piece. So that's my spiel. Uh,
Wow, David, thank you so much. Amazing, amazing
I,
story. And thank you
yeah,
for joining as well. And maybe your last point is maybe the most important one, which is Tribal doesn't really replace your team. Also, we see a wide variety of customers, some of them using SIs for many, many years. It doesn't really replace that either. It's basically a platform. And yes, we do provide FDEs, especially in the beginning project, to make sure that you, both your internal team and the SI that you're working with, are on the platform super fast and are able to deliver value super fast. It's super important to show that. But what I'm mostly proud of is that admins that have been working for years and seen many implementations come and go, they Tribal gives them confidence to clearly answer questions about impact, to clearly easily help users without needing to wait for a developer, and you kind of keep your development power for the more complex projects. And that's exactly what we are seeing at ProDriven. So, David, thank you so much for sharing the story.
Thanks, David, for sharing that story.
yeah.
Uh,
Thank you guys for coming into my life. This is amazing.
Very
Amazing.
cool.
Uri, we do have two questions. Let me know
Please.
when do you want to
Yeah.
take them now? Okay.
Yes.
So,
Let's do it.
so the first one is which LLM is behind the ask mode and the agent mode? This is by Shenjuan.
Yeah, let's start with that. We have multiple foundation models that are being used. I would say by far Anthropic is being used across many many agents, but there's multiple LLMs behind the scenes here. I think with everybody using LLMs now, the question is not just which foundation models you're using, but how you're using them and what the context is. Do you have a skill that is really able to understand the context in the org and then write Apex without hitting governor limits and DML issues? So yeah, thank you for that question.
Yeah.
What is the second one?
We have the another one from Michael. He's asking, can the processing of metadata prompts be limited to certain regions for data governance and compliance? So more around security.
100% yes. And if it's within one org or a few Salesforce orgs together, you can control access for each org and for each project. So each specific, let me answer the question by taking you behind the scenes. Here you can see my tribal tenant is connected to two orgs. You can completely control access and say exactly which users can see, can read, and can deploy from this org. You can also run access on the project level. So we're going to get to projects really, really soon. But any project that somebody runs in Tribal, you can simply look at the project and control if it's a private, just like a document, Word or Excel document. You can fully control visibility and you can even segment metadata and access to specific metadata types in case you need to. Um, Keep in mind that with all security and sensitive fields, Tribal doesn't really see data. So even if there is a credit card field on an object and Tribal is aware that there's a credit card field, it doesn't see the data inside. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, we also have another layer, and I think it's the same question. But Jade, if it is, oh, sorry, Nelson, if it is not, let me know. What level of security compliance have you achieved?
In terms of the, you're asking SOC 2 and ISO compliance, all those, obviously, we wouldn't be working with any enterprises without those. Now working on HIPAA compliance as well. So I'm not sure if that was the question, but yeah, we follow the best practices from Salesforce rigorously. And so we, our connected app is not like a simple connected app. It's really a ECA, external client application, and the Salesforce admin has full control over which permissions are accessed.
We
Add
have
something
one.
on that.
Yeah, please.
Go ahead, David.
So when I introduced that to my cybersecurity team, they were very concerned. What kind of access do I give an external company with an AI capabilities? They were really worried. And I'm in a traditional industry. I'm in manufacturing, so we're not moving as fast as as other industries. A tribal connected their a security expert with my security experts and passed the commentations in the level that it's been approved same day. It was a couple of meetings, a couple of documents have been read, and it was like flying colors. It was very, very easy process to get your cybersecurity folks at ease, and they are well documented, which is very, very critical to expedite that process.
Thanks, David. So super helpful. So bringing us back to the demo, was there anything else, Varsha?
Just one more question.
Please.
Do you also integrate with Slack or Slackbot?
Yeah, so that was the main event for TDX. We actually created a video of you're interacting with Tribal through Slack, and all these personas, the analyst, the architect, the builder, they all tell Tribal what to do via Slack, and Tribal answers, and you interact with Tribal via Slack. Now we have started to invest in also bringing Agentforce agents that power Slack. So you can now connect Agentforce to Slack as well. And I think in the future, and this is roadmap, we would like to also create experiences on Slack with Slackbot, real experience that you shape as part of the application, as part of the agent. And I think that is going to open up for Salesforce partners really, really soon.
Thanks, Uri. So that summarizes the question. Jade gave us a heart.
Amazing. I will
Yeah.
maybe add many of the Salesforce customers that we deal with, they use Microsoft Teams, not Slack, especially if they're not tech companies. And I think one of the biggest announcements now is that many of these agents or even UI experiences will be available on Microsoft Teams. So for me, Salesforce announcing headless architecture means that we will very soon be able to bring experiences to Teams without needing to take the data out of Salesforce. I think if I summarize to you the difference between Tribal and many of the other vibe coding platforms out there, there's no need to take the data out of Salesforce. There's a need to clean up the technical debt, and there's a need to make it work for agents and then bring it to life in many places, Microsoft Teams, Slack, and also UI. I don't think UI is going away so fast. People will still use the UI, but yes, gradually they will be using more and more chat and agents, 100%. So diving back into our demo, the result of the impact analysis is pretty impressive. Tribal is telling us the trigger order of execution should be taken into consideration. The governor limits, we have 406 components that are depending on case. This is a large SDO org. Record type filtering, existing automation density. There's managed packages that are dangerous for these kinds of migrations. And then Tribal is saying instead of a new trigger, maybe extend an existing trigger. And Tribal can do that for you. So really an amazing capability, something that AI, I feel, does better than human beings, or at least faster than at least what I can do. I wanted to give an example of, let's say, maybe look at one of the things I love to do with Tribal is with a simple word, I can filter all my metadata in my org, and I can really quickly find something that I want to enhance. So, for example, I have two flows that have to do with the risk, in this case, opportunity risk. I can take a look at this flow, and I can, so this automatically triggers risk analysis on opportunity stage or close date changes. Amazing. So maybe I can say, add this to context because I want Tribal to know I'm going to do something with this flow. And you can see here, it's added to my context. And all I have to do now is basically is basically going to requirements and say something like going into act mode. Let's enhance the the op risk auto assessment flow um, by adding an additional criteria. And notice I didn't really specify the change that I want to make. It's first, Tribal is going to analyze what this flow is doing. And typically it will ask you if you're not clear enough, it will ask you questions on, okay, what is it that you want to modify? What are you trying to achieve? And even suggest things like consolidating figures and flows. In this case, it's just reading the flow. And it's really just helping me write requirements before doing anything. It's important to mention that most of our customers, when they start working with Tribal, they do a lot on the Tribal side, but very quickly they deploy to a sandbox, a developer sandbox or Scratch org to see the results. One of the things that kind of builds confidence is you don't need to work directly into a full sandbox, for example. You can work with a developer sandbox or a developer org, Scratch org, and really deploy very, very quickly to see what it looks like in Salesforce and then do iterations. So here we can see requirements. It's basically building and it's asking me questions. What additional field or condition should trigger the risk analysis? And it's suggesting things. So I'm going to say amount changes I want. Uh, and should there be any threshold or specific value? Um, yeah, maybe more than something like that. Should the new criteria work with or or logic? And that was kind of the missing piece of the puzzle for Tribal to complete the use case, create the to-dos, build the diagram. And when I'm happy, I can move on to the architect. So this is kind of the first analyst agent that is really helping us make sure we are hitting the exact requirement before we start building anything. You can download the requirements, make them into a full document, PRD, share them with your team. You can collaborate with your team and add mention your other team members to collaborate on this document, just like a regular document. And when we're happy, we have a sequence diagram that we can see, okay, what exactly are we adding here to this flow? And we can say, okay, I'm happy with this flow. I'm going to approve the requirements. And now we're engaging with the architect agent, and the architect comes in. And typically, this is someone who already knows how your Salesforce org is being run, and is, I think, the amount of time that we save Salesforce admins and architects is just reduce the 80% of the heavy lifting of researching and working. Tribal gives them a best practice architecture. This is based on a lot of our experiences working with Salesforce over the years. Just suggest the architecture. In this case, it's pretty simple because we're just fixing a flow. But in other projects, it's super important to start with the correct architecture. But the architect always knows best. And so if it's an internal team member or an external SI, ProDriven, for example, have a very good external architect that will come in and say, yes, I approve this, or no, this should not be a pick list field, this should be a lookup. Or, hey, we have integration that you're not aware of that is coming next month. And really tell the Tribal architect agent, give it additional context before you start building anything. So it's a really, really critical step and an amazing example of a human in the loop, where humans get to approve what the AI is doing before it starts to build anything. So let's give it another moment and build the
It,
architecture. Yeah,
uh,
is there a
by the
question?
time, yes, Uri. So this is a question that I have. So by the time it's thinking, the question was how are there any best practices or what kind of guardrails should you think of in terms of process when you're using this to protect against hallucination? So all of us have been there. You go and you're
Yeah.
interacting with an agent. At one point, it starts hallucinating. It doesn't know what to do after. So
Yeah, so I
yeah.
think we're definitely seeing the amount of hallucinations declining because it's rooted in grounded, as you said, in the context of your metadata. So it's hard to invent stuff, like as opposed to if you work with ChatGPT or Claude, you get amazing answers, but sometimes it's not aware of all the context that you have. And
Yeah.
so I would say the rate of hallucination here is far lower. But yes, you're right. You can find inconsistencies with tribal as well. And the
Like,
best
do I have
advice,
the ability to do, like, some point of checkpoint to say I am building something.
yeah,
So far, I really love it. Maybe let me lock this in so that anything I'm chatting further, I
ah,
can gradually build on it.
I love this question, and one of the things that makes Tribal kind of boost your confidence is we collect restore points along the way. So everything that we're doing, we automatically capture restore points, and if not just hallucinations, but sometimes we make mistakes. And I created a field that I didn't want, or it created the record page, and I wanted a full blown flexi page. Can easily restore and go back to this point and just start again even after I deploy to Salesforce, easily go back, restore, make the changes, and deploy it again. The only thing Tribe doesn't do today, maybe this will be in the future, is delete things from Salesforce. So if you mistakenly deploy the field, Tribal will not delete it, but it will not use it in the code. So your application will work perfectly. It will tell you though, in the release notes, you have to clean it up. Um,
Hmm.
but yes, restore points are super important. And you can, if you're happy with a version, you can just go into a checkpoint and you can create your own checkpoint. Like this is my V1, I deployed it to my sandbox and I'm happy with it. And you can always go back to your checkpoint. So that's also super important. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you
I
for the
just wanted
question.
to do a time check though, Uri. We have
Yeah.
10
So
minutes. Yeah.
amazing. So I'll spend another 5 and then open it up for some questions.
Yeah.
Tribal summarizes the logic. We have a record trigger flow and a class. We're going to approve the architecture. And really, the builder is going to go into builder mode and just enhance the existing flow that is using an Apex class. And while it's running, this is what it looks like. So this project only has an Apex class. There's the code here that already exists, and we're augmenting it. So this flow is already using an Apex class. And there's the DX XML for deployment. And here's the flow. And now it's augmenting the flow. So it's in progress. Once it's completed, we can see the flow. And it will deploy a new flow version. And then the admin will go and make it active, test it, and reiterate. So while this is really building and augmenting the flow, let me show you an existing project that is the third use case that we were talking about, and that is a full-blown project. So, for example, for one of the customers, we were building a dashboard for timesheets. And so you can see that this customer, apologies, I see that the Wi-Fi is having some issues here. But what they really did is paste a full-blown PRD document of building a timesheet application for compliance. It resulted in this requirements document with these user stories. And look how Tribal breaks down all the user stories. Um, then, in terms of architecture, a typical larger project would take a data layer like a timesheet object. So in this case, it creates a new timesheet analytics object where we store the compliance of the timesheets. It creates two permission sets, one that is read-only for users and one that is full access for the managers. It creates Apex classes and a trigger to run the compliance. And in the UI layer, we have a LWC dashboard. You can get a list of the elements that it's going to create, the reasoning behind why it's decided to build the architecture the way it did. And if you go into the components, I think the favorite thing when you have any kind of UI is to go into preview mode and really preview the application that you're going to push into Salesforce. And you can have multiple UI elements, some screen flows or some LWCs, and you can move between them and really see what they look like before it's deployed to Salesforce. Um, and then when you deploy them to Salesforce, you can manage permission sets from Tribal and decide which users are going to have access to which permission set in the org right from here. You can directly open the app inside Salesforce to see what it looks like. And I think the best part where I see users really start to fall in love with Tribal is after the first deploy, when they see that, okay, this is a real app that I just deployed in 2 seconds, and they create test this, there's no test data here, but they create some test data and they play with it. and then they take screenshots and they go back to tribal and say, this is great, but change this, change that. And tribal like, understands how to make these changes. I think that's the best experience, is that when you're iterating so fast, just like you have a developer sitting next to you making changes all the time, you can see release notes. So every project comes with release notes and impact analysis built in. What the permission sets do. Do you need to do any data initialization? What does the admin need to do for setup? How do the users start using this? You can really create slides. There's a technical summary. In our roadmap, we want to create kind of an enablement deck onboarding. You heard David speak about onboarding. We want to create onboarding videos that come together with how to use this application. But obviously, you can download and share the release notes.
Uri, just wanted to do a time check. We have a couple
Yeah,
of questions and we
yeah,
have five
perfect.
minutes. So
Amazing.
we have one question from Vikram. He's asking, different companies have different architectural ARB boards or naming convention. Can those rules be defined while it
Yes.
think about solutions?
I love this question. 100% yes. You have access in Tribal to add your own rules. So Tribal has best practices, mostly from Salesforce. You can add your rules. Every Apex trigger must have a namespace that starts with, you do the rule. I typically use a rule of always use the colors for any UI. Always use the colors of the branding when you build any LWC. So things like that. Analyst agent, you can say, always ask the user what business KPI they're trying to improve so that it's captured in the requirement document. So you can add your own rules to the agents.
Perfect. And then we have the next question from Cards. He's asking, how can you ensure that Tribal does not focus on specifics, but rather the overall concept behind the system? This is particularly important during complicated cases where business logic is distributed across Apex flows, LWC, so really across metadata.
So I don't think I have a magical answer to this. I think the key is to do the discovery. And as you saw me in the beginning of the session, you ask questions about all, so kind of have a bird's eye view of all the automations that I have on case, including usage. Tribal understands Salesforce licensing and understands usage. And I'll give you an example. One of our customers has 4 different invoice objects, and it's not their fault. It's just throughout the year, Salesforce didn't have one, so I think it's super important to consult with Tribal on which one is really being used as we go into a project, whether it's fixing existing metadata or building something new. Like an invoice dashboard is super easy to build, but if you don't select the right object and the right existing automations, it's not going to work. Same thing is true for Agentforce agents. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, and so the last question that I see for now is from Suman. He's asking, I'm sorry, Suman, I don't know if it's a he or she. Is it free for now, or do we have to pay for it? Do we have a trial period?
That's an amazing segue into our wrap-up slide. I'll start with answering the question, but Varsha, feel free to take the wrap-up slide. You can sign up for a free tribal tenant at this link, scan the QR code. We have kind of a waiting list, but yes, typically we would give a free trial. Tribal doesn't really sell the platform to the community of solution integrators. We sell directly to customers, and we partner with the SI community to make a difference and together create success with customers like Pro-Driven, for example. So yes, free trial is definitely there, but in order to contract paid engagement, there would typically need to be a customer in the list. Varsha, over to you to wrap up.
Thanks, Uri. Thank you so much for all the knowledge that you shared today and walking us through, how delivery can be rethought of, right? Thank you so much for all that context. In terms of wrap up, I just wanted to share that after we wrap up the session, you all will receive an email with a survey. Please share your feedback. This is more around, things you want to know about. What did you like? Any feedback that you have is good feedback. This is mainly to help us shape up the next sessions that are going to come up. The session recording and the material that Uri was presenting will also be on the community page. So you can go ahead and access it from there once I publish it. So you'll receive another email for it. And if you're looking to speak, we are looking for architects and practitioners who want to speak about and they are passionate about stories like Uri presented today. So please reach out to me and we can have a conversation and plan something. Thank you so much for giving us your time and hope you had a good session. Thanks, Uri.
Thank you,
Take care.
Varsha. Pleasure.
Bye
Thanks,
bye.
everybody. Take care.
Bye bye.